First contact. The desert wind whispered across the dunes as Sarah Matthews adjusted her backpack and checked her GPS coordinates again. "This has to be the spot," she muttered, glancing at the sky where the meteor had fallen 3 nights ago. As an astronomy graduate student, she'd tracked the object's trajectory with precision until it disappeared from radar over the Nevada desert. Sarah had come alone, avoiding university protocols that would have required reporting the anomaly to authorities. Something about the object's movement had seemed deliberate, controlled. The crater wasn't large, just a shallow depression in the sand, but what lay at its center made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. It wasn't a rock or metallic debris, but a translucent purple crystal formation that pulsed with inner light. "Incredible," she whispered, reaching toward it, then hesitating. Her scientific training warned against touching unknown materials, but something deeper, an intuition she couldn't explain, urged her forward. When her fingers brushed the crystal's surface, a shockwave of sensation traveled up her arm. Not pain, but awareness, as if every cell had suddenly awakened to a new frequency of existence. The crystal's glow intensified, responding to her touch. "Hello," a voice echoed directly in her mind, making her stumble backward. "Do not be afraid. I mean no harm." Sarah spun around, searching for the source, but found only empty desert. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. "I am Kai. The crystal you touch is a communication device. I am not physically present." Sarah stared at the pulsing crystal. "Where are you then?" "Approximately 3 kilometers north of your position. My vessel is concealed but damaged. I require assistance." Logic told Sarah to run, to call authorities, to do anything but follow mysterious directions from a disembodied voice. But curiosity, the same force that had driven her to study the stars her entire life, pushed her forward. Following the crystal's guidance, which now floated inches above her palm, Sarah hiked across the desert landscape until she reached a small canyon. Nearly invisible against the red rock, a sleek craft rested at an odd angle, its surface reflecting the desert colors like adaptive camouflage. "Hello, Sarah." The figure that emerged from behind the craft wasn't what she expected. No bulbous head or gray skin, but a humanoid being with distinctly purple-hued skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. His features were striking, almost beautiful in their symmetry. "I am Kai, scientist, explorer, and now, it seems, refugee." "You're actually alien?" Sarah whispered, unable to process the reality before her. "From another planet?" Kai smiled, the expression surprisingly human. "My home world orbits what you call Kepler 442. We have studied your species for decades, though direct contact was forbidden until now." "What happened to your ship?" "A malfunction in the propulsion system. I can repair it, but require materials not available here and assistance I cannot move freely among your people." She knew she should be terrified, but instead felt an unexpected calm. "Why trust me? Why not contact your people?" "The communication array is damaged, and something in your mind when you approached the beacon showed exceptional empathy, unusual among your species. You saw a falling star and sought understanding, not exploitation." "I could still turn you in," Sarah said, testing her own reaction as much as his. Kai's eyes met hers, deep violet irises that seemed to hold galaxies. "You could, but you won't. Your heart whispers the same curiosity that drives my people across the stars." Sarah felt something shift between them, a connection forming beyond words. "I'll help you, but I have questions, so many questions. And I will answer them. This is how understanding begins between worlds." As desert darkness fell, Sarah knew her life had fundamentally changed. For the first time, she wasn't just studying the stars, she was connecting with them through the being before her. The impossible had become her reality, and despite every rational thought, the path ahead felt right. Human and alien, watching the same stars from opposite sides of the universe, now standing side by side on Earth's sand, the first contact of many between two souls from distant worlds. Twilight understanding. 2 weeks had passed since Sarah discovered Kai in the desert, and her small apartment outside Las Vegas had become a sanctuary for the alien scientist. She had converted her living room into a makeshift laboratory where he could work on communications technology while remaining hidden from the world. "Your Earth materials are so primitive," Kai observed, examining the circuit board Sarah had purchased online, "but surprisingly adaptable." Sarah watched him work, marveling at how quickly his purple-hued hands manipulated the technology. "You said your ship's self-repair systems are working, but the communication array is completely fried." "Correct," Kai nodded without looking up. "Without it, I cannot signal my research vessel in orbit around your Jupiter. They believe me lost." Sarah sat beside him, their shoulders nearly touching. "So no one's coming to rescue you?" "Not unless I can create a quantum resonance signal." He finally looked up, meeting her gaze with those impossible violet eyes that still made her breath catch. "I'm grateful for your assistance, Sarah. Your risk is significant." The unspoken truth hung between them. Sarah was harboring an extraterrestrial visitor, risking everything: her career, her freedom, perhaps even global security. But in the short time she'd known Kai, she'd learned more about the universe than in years of academic study. Their conversation was interrupted by Sarah's phone vibrating across the table. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's Dr. Chen again, my department chair. He's been asking questions about my sudden request for leave." "You told me he specializes in meteorite analysis," Kai said softly. "Perhaps he detected traces of my arrival." "I need to meet with him tomorrow or he'll get suspicious." Sarah ran her fingers through her hair. "I can't avoid him forever." Later that evening, as desert twilight painted the apartment in amber hues, Sarah found Kai standing at her small balcony window, staring at the emerging stars. "Your world has such beauty," Kai murmured. "Different from mine, but equally compelling. The way your single sun creates these color variations during transition periods." "You mean sunsets?" Sarah smiled, joining him. "We take them for granted. My world orbits a red dwarf star. Our skies are always crimson. We have no transition from day to night, just gradual dimming." Sarah studied his profile, noting how the dying light accentuated the elegant structure of his face. She'd grown accustomed to his alienness, finding beauty in the subtle differences. "Do you miss it, your home?" "Yes," he admitted, turning to face her. "But discovery requires sacrifice. My people believe understanding other worlds expands our own consciousness." Their eyes held a moment too long before Sarah looked away. "I should prepare for tomorrow's meeting with Dr. Chen. I need a convincing story." The following afternoon, Sarah sat uncomfortably in Dr. Chen's office as he studied her with narrowed eyes. "Your sudden interest in the Western Desert coincides with unusual electromagnetic readings from the same region," he said, placing photographs on his desk. "And these satellite images show what appears to be a small impact site." "I'm just collecting mineral samples for my side project." Sarah maintained her composure despite her racing heart. "Nothing related to the department." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Sarah, the government has assembled a special research unit for unprecedented astronomical events. I've been asked to join by Agent Cooper from Special Operations. Whatever you found, if it's significant—" "It's just rocks," she interrupted too quickly. "Nothing special." "Then you wouldn't mind if we accompanied you to your research site?" He smiled thinly. perhaps tomorrow. Sarah's mind raced. The site was compromised by hikers. I've moved on to a different location. I'll send coordinates when I've established proper documentation protocols. The skepticism in Dr. Chen's eyes was unmistakable, but he nodded. Very well then, by next week. That evening, Sarah returned to her apartment, finding Kai immersed in constructing something new from the components she'd brought him. They know something, she blurted, dropping her bag. Dr. Chen's joined some government task force. They're looking for evidence of your landing. Kai set down his tools, his expression grave. This complicates matters. I've made progress but need at least 2 more Earth weeks to complete the signal device. We don't have 2 weeks, Sarah paced the small room. We need to move you somewhere safer. Kai approached her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. There is another solution, one I hesitated to suggest because it requires significant trust. What is it? My people have a ritual, a deep connection performed beneath open stars. It creates a temporary psychic link, allowing shared consciousness. Sarah's eyes widened. You mean like a mind meld? More intimate, Kai's voice softened. It would allow me to transfer technical knowledge directly to your mind. You could gather materials and build what I need while I remain hidden. That sounds, she searched for words, intense? It is. Kai's hands remained on her shoulders, his touch warming her skin. The ritual is normally reserved for those with deep bonds. It requires physical proximity, emotional openness, vulnerability. Sarah felt something shift between them, an awareness that had been building since their first meeting. When would we need to do this? When the stars align correctly. In 3 nights. His eyes held hers. I understand if you refuse. The connection leaves nothing hidden, Sarah. Nothing. She should have been frightened by the prospect. Instead, she felt a strange anticipation. I'll do it. We're running out of options. As twilight deepened into night, they remained standing close together, caught between worlds, between understanding and something deeper neither was ready to name. The coming ritual would change everything between them. This much Sarah knew with absolute certainty.
Celestial Ritual. The abandoned observatory, perched on the mountainside, offered perfect seclusion for what Kai called the astral binding ritual. Sarah had discovered the location while researching her thesis, a forgotten scientific outpost with its dome partially collapsed, but its isolation intact. This was good thinking, Kai said, examining the circular space where starlight streamed through the broken dome. The ritual requires direct stellar alignment. Sarah arranged the supplies they'd brought, blankets, water, and the strange crystalline objects Kai had constructed from her electronics. So, explain this again. What exactly happens during this binding? Kai knelt in the center of the room, arranging the crystals in a precise pattern that seemed to mirror specific constellations. My consciousness will temporarily merge with yours, allowing you to access my technical knowledge. And what else? Sarah asked, sensing he was omitting something. Kai paused, looking up at her, his purple skin almost luminescent in the starlight. The connection is not selective, Sarah. Thoughts, emotions, memories, they flow both ways. Nothing remains hidden. A flutter of nervousness passed through her. So you'll see everything. About me? My life? And you will see mine. It is why the ritual is sacred among my people, only performed with those we deeply trust. Trust. The word hung between them. Sarah realized their relationship had evolved from scientific curiosity to something far more complex in just 3 weeks, something neither had named, As night deepened, Kai directed Sarah to sit facing him in the center of the crystal arrangement. Their knees touched as they settled on the blankets. "The alignment begins in 20 minutes," he explained. "Until then, we should prepare our minds. The more open we are, the easier the connection forms." "How do we prepare?" "By sharing something we haven't yet revealed. A truth we've kept hidden." She swallowed, examining the alien face that had become so familiar. His features no longer seemed strange, but beautiful in their difference. "You start." Kai's eyes reflected starlight. "On my world, I am considered a radical. My research team believes in open contact with developing species, like humans. But our governing council forbids it. I was not sent here officially. My mission was unauthorized." "You're a rebel," she smiled slightly. "That explains why you trusted me instead of authorities." "Now you," he prompted. Sarah took a deep breath. "I've never belonged anywhere. Not really. Not with family, not in academia. I've always felt like I'm looking at humanity from outside." She met his gaze. "Until I found you, someone else who sees Earth the same way I do." Kai's expression softened, his hand reaching for hers. "The stars are aligning. It's time." He instructed her to maintain eye contact as he began speaking in his native language. The sounds, impossible for her human vocal cords, vibrated through the air. The crystals surrounding them began to glow, responding to his voice. "Now, place your hands against mine," he whispered. Their palms pressed together, fingers aligned. The difference in their skin tones, her human complexion against his purple hue, seemed to blur where they touched. "Open your mind, Sarah," Kai murmured. "Don't resist what comes." The first sensation was vertigo, as if she were falling upward into the stars. Then came warmth, starting where their hands connected and spreading through her body. Images flooded her consciousness, a crimson sky over crystalline cities, strange vegetation undulating in alien winds, mathematical equations of impossible complexity. She gasped, feeling Kai's mind intertwining with hers. Like two streams merging into one river, their thoughts, emotions, memories flowed together. Nothing hidden, nothing separate. "Kai," she whispered, though speaking seemed unnecessary when their minds were joined. Through his memories, she experienced his childhood on a world light years from Earth, felt his passion for exploration, his loneliness as the outsider among his research team. She understood the technology he needed to build, the knowledge downloading into her consciousness like water filling an empty vessel. And then something unexpected. Emotions, not just information. His growing feelings for her since their first meeting, fascination evolving into admiration, then affection, and now something deeper, more powerful. Something their people called soul fire, the recognition of a kindred spirit across the barriers of species and space. With shock, Sarah realized she could feel her emotions too. Her initial scientific curiosity giving way to friendship, then attraction, the dreams she'd had about him, the way her heart raced when their hands touched. "I didn't know," she whispered, their foreheads now pressed together, the connection intensifying. "I didn't realize you felt the same." Words became unnecessary as the ritual deepened. Their shared consciousness expanded beyond the observatory, beyond Earth, joining with the stars themselves. For one breathtaking moment, Sarah understood the universe as Kai perceived it, interconnected, conscious, alive with possibility. When the alignment peaked, the crystal formation pulsed with blinding light. Then gradually, the connection began to recede. their separate selves emerging from the shared consciousness like islands appearing as floodwaters recede. They remained motionless, foreheads touching, hands pressed together, breathing synchronized. Even as their minds separated, their bodies stayed connected, neither willing to break the physical contact that remained. "Sarah," Kai finally whispered, his voice rough with emotion. "The ritual is complete." She opened her eyes, finding his gaze already on her. Those violet eyes, now familiar in a way that transcended physical sight. She had seen his soul, and his hers. "I know how to build what you need," she said softly. "I can see the designs, the materials, everything." That was the purpose, he acknowledged, but both knew the technical knowledge transfer had become secondary to what else had passed between them. The ritual had revealed truths neither had been brave enough to speak. Sarah moved first, closing the small distance between them. Her lips found his in a kiss that felt like coming home, like crossing the final frontier between them. His arms encircled her, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened, two beings from different worlds finding connection in the universal language of touch. "This complicates everything," she whispered when they finally separated. "The most important discoveries always do," Kai replied, tracing her cheek with gentle fingers. Above them, through the broken dome, stars continued their ancient procession across the sky, witnesses to a union unprecedented in human history. The binding ritual had succeeded beyond its intended purpose, creating a connection that neither science nor space could fully explain. And somewhere, in the darkness beyond the observatory, a government vehicle traveled the mountain road, Agent Cooper following the electromagnetic disturbance that had registered on sensitive equipment miles away. The discovery that would threaten everything Sarah and Kai had found in each other's arms.
Shadows of separation.